My clients just asked me this question, and she's been working on a manuscript for about a year, and she's coming close to being finished, ready to start the publishing process. And then she asks, when do you know for a fact that you're done? When is it time to let it go, and when is it not time to let it go? And anybody who's worked on a manuscript, guaranteed you've had this question yourself. I've had the question. Everyone's had this question. So the quick and dirty answer is you know that you are done and it's time to release your manuscript and send it through the publishing process when you have done everything that you can. You've reviewed all of your comments, you've fixed all of the problems that you spotted, you've polished your material, you've been in it, you've fixed it, and you can't think of anything else that you could possibly do to make this better. Then the next step would be to put that manuscript in a drawer and let it sit for about 2 months. And then, we need to let it sit because we need to clear our eyes. So when we're reading it, it's like we can read our own work with the eyes of a stranger. And that way you'll be able to pick up on stuff that you're missing right now because you're way too close and personal with it. Can you eliminate the waiting process, hanging around for 2 months while your eyes clear? Yes, you can send that manuscript to a really good editor, a professional editor, and that editor is going to read with fresh eyes. The editor is going to go through and say, hey, this is in pretty good shape, but you want to fix this. Maybe you want to move this chapter here or cut this chapter there. And you save yourself a couple of months and then some. So where do people get into trouble? They get into trouble by thinking that they're done, not letting it sit for a little bit, just wanting to get the project out fast and, sending it to a self-publisher, independent publisher, publishing house that really doesn't check what you're doing. And then you look at the book 6 months later and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I let that go. Or on the other side, you will work a manuscript to death. You're almost done, but you keep lingering, you keep hesitating, you keep futzing and worrying that it's not perfect. So if, for instance, you are, here's another problem besides perfectionism and, for God's sake, get an editor so you can trust that it's good and be done with the perfectionism. But some people who are working on their own story, if their own personal story is a driving force for their book, they have this compulsion to keep the reader caught up to where they are in their life. They're like, yeah, here's something I learned last week about this journey. I want to write that in too. And suddenly this book starts being, 200 pages to 250 pages to 300 pages, and the reader is with you right now in the moment as you're learning. You don't want to do that. You want to draw a line at the very beginning of the writing process and say, here are the lessons that I'm going to teach. Here's essentially where I'm going to end my personal chapter and not, carry forth into the future. And you want to make those decisions before you start writing, because in the writing process, you'll want to keep adding. Also, there's a problem called blowing out the scope, where you've got all these great ideas down, and then you're like, wait, I got even more ideas. I want to add more and more ideas. Again, you want to contain your stories and your lessons at the beginning of the writing process. You want to make those decisions then, because at the end you can keep adding everything, including the kitchen sink, and you're never going to be done. And if you're nervous about being seen out in the world, you can keep this game going for months on end, when really, you make the decision, work with a pro, get it out into the world, trust that it's good, work in conjunction with other writers, and then you let go. I hope this is helpful. You got more questions about this? By all means, let me know.